Well, the Fox News at Night Common Sense Department is fond of the word dichotomy, normally defined as a sharp contrast. But in politics, it tends to be an example of two opposing things or thoughts, like the protests happening at an ICE facility in New Jersey. Truth is, there is very little protesting, but there is lots of ranting, raving, and threatening the lives of ICE agents. And now New Jersey Governor Mikie Sherrill wants to offer the protesters a protection zone. So if common sense is tracking correctly, she wants to protect the people who are threatening to kill ICE agents. And the people who are threatening to kill ICE agents are also fighting to get the illegal immigrants inside the facility released, even though the immigrants inside the facility are convicted, charged, or accused of heinous crimes like murder, rape, robbery. So the protesters are kicking, biting, and punching to free the killers, robbers, and rapers. Huh? These are the same protesters who criticize ICE agents for wearing a mask, then get caught on camera saying, quote, "I have your face, and now you're dead." Tonight, we're told the protesters will sing "Give Peace a Chance," but you can't have peace without getting violent people off the streets. So common sense would suggest if you want to give peace a chance, you need to give ICE a chance. Let's bring in former senior DHS and DOJ official Gene Hamilton and host of the weekly Rap Sheet, Josh Ritter, on Fox Nation. Thank you both for coming on. Gene, to you first. Here's the New Jersey Governor, Mikie Sherrill, shifting the blame as she is wont to do to ICE. Watch.
We know what ICE has done in other states, and we know American citizens lost their lives. For that reason, New Jersey law enforcement is today establishing a peaceful, protected protest zone in the area right outside Delaney Hall. My administration will be working together with community members, faith leaders, advocates, and state police to help people move there today.
I mean, Gene, the truth is we hear this in every blue state across the country, right? When they have problems with ICE agents, it's disregard the death threats and the agents are the evil ones. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, look, you made a really great point. The people who are in this detention center are folks, for the most part, who have serious convictions or who have serious charges for criminal offenses, who are facing deportation from the United States. These people don't care about the conditions inside that facility. These agitators are violent Marxists employing tactics that we have seen across the world for the last 200 years every time that they want to get their way. So they're trying to provoke, they're trying to agitate, they're trying to do things to cause a response. And of course, the local officials are taking the side of the Marxists, of the agitators. And if they actually cared about the conditions inside, and if there's actually a problem with, like, say, as they do the congressmen who are there, the food quality, what they would do is they would put a food truck, a taco truck, out there and volunteer to give it to the people inside of the facility. But that's not what they're doing. Instead, these paid protesters, these paid agitators and rioters are the ones who are showing up.
Yeah. Meantime, you have an ICE protester. We want to play the sound of this. We've heard it a lot, but it's worth playing again. Followed by the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, talking about banning masks. Watch.
Kill your whole family! Your whole family's dead! Come on! Children, your wife, come on! All dead! Put it! My boy! I have your face, mother! You're dead! Dead!
No longer in the state of New York will you be allowed to wear masks as a technique of intimidation.
Here we go. They're the intimidators, Josh, right? That's the whole thing. It's just like we see in all these blue states. It's the ICE, it's law enforcement that are the intimidators.
Right. It's one thing, and we're used to it now, to see these progressive politicians upside down and backwards on a lot of these issues, but it's quite another thing when you're putting lives at risk, police officers' lives at risk. And make no mistake, that's exactly what these types of decisions and these laws are doing. They're wearing those masks because they're trying to protect themselves and protect their families, by the way, because we live in a world where it's not just one thing to go out and commit acts of violence in these riots, these / quote unquote protests. They want to go further than that and expose who they are, dox them online, and commit acts of violence, or at least threaten acts of violence against their own families. And this governor is standing in support of that.
Yeah. Meantime, you have a convicted killer, an active gang member who was sentenced to 50 years for murder here in California. He was let out last year, and apparently he was on the Los Angeles City payroll to be a peace ambassador. The U.S. Attorney Bill Escalating for the Central District says a convicted murderer whom law enforcement believes is an active member of the 18th Street gang while being paid with City of L.A. funds to work as a peace ambassador was arrested today on federal criminal complaint charging him with illegally possessing 2 body armor plates near the city's drug and crime-infested MacArthur Park. I mean, let's have the killer be the peace ambassador here. It's kind of the same theme as the ICE agents, right? The protesters, yeah, just let them go, and the ICE agents will get blamed for everything. What do you think about this, Gene?
Look, I mean, this is part and parcel for the leadership out in California. At the city and at the state level, they have no checks in place to check against fraud. And in fact, the very people that they're giving government funds to in many of these cases are fraudsters or convicted criminals, as we have here. This is not an example, apparently, of somebody who's had a change of heart. If you look at what the Department of Justice has alleged, this is not somebody who's had a complete life revolution while they were in jail. This is a person who is now out on the streets and re-engaging in the same types, apparently, of activities that were associated with MS with MS
the 18th Street gang,
the
18th Street gang.
Right, the 18th Street gang, and you know, on the government dole the entire time.
Yep.
I mean, this is exactly the type of thing that you would see out of the state of California these days.
Yeah. Meantime, Florida is now doing these roadside stings, Josh. I mean, they're letting the criminal illegal immigrants and they're hitting them, and Governor DeSantis said the following here. Watch.
We've also done Operation Criminal Return, 10-day operation between FDLE and DHS targeting illegal aliens who are sex offenders, career criminals, and other serious offenders. That led to 230 arrests. I mean, if you're a legal alien and a convicted criminal alien, what possible basis could there be for anyone to object to that?
Josh, you know there's always going to be somebody who's going to object. You object to that. Your final thoughts on this?
Yeah, he was really setting him up. What possibly could be the objection? Sex offenders, people who've committed crimes of violence, and you're removing them, and they're already here illegally. Where is the argument, the counter-argument built into all of that? He makes an excellent point, and he puts it so well. Full support of it.
Yeah, Josh, Gene, thank you both.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.